Parikshit, a Kuru king of Hastinapur, was the grandson of Arjuna and the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara. He was the sole surviving descendant of the Pandavas after the Kurukshetra war. His life is significant in Hindu mythology as he is said to have ushered in the age of Kali Yuga. His is one of the first stories that appears in the epic the Mahabharata. The story begins when this scion of the Kuru clan relinquished his kingdom to his son and isolated himself from the stately duties as well as his wives and refused to admit or meet anyone in fear of a curse that foretold that he would die from a snake bite in 7 days' time. Parikshit built a fortress on the banks of the Ganga to protect himself from Takshaka, the serpent who was to deliver the fatal bite. However, as the evening sun had set on the 7th day, the king decided to eat a fruit, and hidden within it was a worm that instantly transformed into the Naga Takshaka. Takshaka sank his venomous fangs into Parikshit's flesh, which proved to be fatal, and soon the king was dead. Overwhelmed by grief on the death of his father, Parikshit's son Janmejaya was consumed by a desire for revenge and initiated a massive snake sacrifice, a ritual known as Sarpasatra, with the intention of eradicating all the snakes from the world. At that time, a learned sage named Astika came and intervened to stop the yajna. He was the son of Jaratkaru and the serpent goddess Manasa. He pleaded with the king to stop this adharma and listen to the real reason that brought about his father's death. It so happened that Parikshit was on a hunting spree in a forest and was thirsty and came across sage Samika sitting in deep penance. Parikshit asked him for water, but the sage did not respond as he was in deep meditation. The king was annoyed at this, and in a fit of anger he killed a snake with a stick and in a rage put the dead snake around the neck of the sage. The sage did not show any emotion, nor did he curse the king. Parikshit, seeing the sage in this state, repented for his act and returned to his kingdom. Then the sage's son, Srinjan, who saw a dead snake around his father's neck, was deeply disturbed and enraged at his father's humiliation. Srinjan, overcome by anger, cursed that Parikshit would die of a snake bite inflicted by the chief of snakes, Takshaka, within 7 nights. Hence the king then took all protective actions to save himself of any snake bite and securely confined himself. There he devoted his remaining days to hearing the Bhagavata Purana, narrated by Sukadeva, seeking spiritual liberation. Although initially distressed by the news of his impending death, he ultimately faced it with courage and focused on spiritual practices rather than fear. On the 7th day, when the chief of snakes Takshaka was going towards Hastinapur to kill Parikshit, the learned sage Kashyapa, who had heard the story of the curse, was on his way to the king to save him. Coincidentally, Takshaka met him on the way and told him that nothing could prevent him in killing the king and that nobody could even save him. He then challenged Kashyapa by totally burning down a banyan tree to ashes with his poison to show his power and asked the sage to prove his. Rishi Kashyapa revived the tree and Takshaka watched in awe of the sage's powers. However, Rishi Kashyapa was convinced to not help Parikshit by Takshaka, who offered him wealth and material possessions in exchange for not interfering with the curse. Despite knowing the mantra to cure the snake bite and being capable of saving Parikshit, Kashyapa succumbed to Takshaka's temptations and turned back. Then Takshaka went to Hastinapur in guise of a Brahmin and, realizing that the king was protected by spells, decided to approach the king by deceit. He sent an emissary with a plate of fruits, kusa grass, and water among which he was hiding to be offered to Parikshit and which was accepted by the king. It was the very plate from which Parikshit had chosen the fatal fruit to bite into, causing his death and bringing his curse into fruition. As for the Naga Takshaka, why did he do it? Takshaka killed Parikshit as a result of a curse and a desire for revenge. Years earlier, Parikshit's grandfather Arjuna and his trusted lord, guide and friend Krishna burned down the Khandava forest to aid the fire god Agni. Takshaka harbored resentment towards the Pandavas, particularly Arjuna's family, for the burning of the Khandava forest where his wife was killed, and vowed to avenge her death by being the reason behind the death of at least one member or a descendant of Arjuna's family. Hence he seized the opportunity to fulfill the curse and exact his revenge. Parikshit was a king who could not escape death. His story highlights the importance of respecting elders, of self-reflection and spiritual practice, the consequences of impulsive actions driven by anger or disrespect, and an example of how one can attain spiritual liberation by facing death with courage and wisdom.